Merci beaucoup.
Ah, you speak French?
L'introduction. And that's it with the French. I can't. I don't want to torture you. Thanks for having me. So, open to grow. During the past year, you may have had the impression that everything is COVID. And this presentation is about it's not. But to start with what it is all about, here is like the view that I would like to present to you today, and that is everything platform. If you think about your everyday life, platforms have transformed the way we live quite a bit. If you think about mobility, coming from Charles de Gaulle to this venue, probably you've been considering taking an Uber, like 6 billion rides that have been done during the past year as well. If you think about entertainment, Spotify has changed the game quite a bit. So 320 million active monthly users are thinking about music on Spotify. And the last one, as an example, is social. So normally kind of we met in the past, now we're meeting digitally. And there's 2.6 billion users on the whole planet that are using Facebook in order to meet their friends, exchange, consume news and media. So if you combine those and say all of them are platforms, platforms have actually by and large democratized technology to an extent that you as a user can use the platform in order to interact and use services, and you as a business can actually do business on those without the big investments in technology or anything else that is accompanying it. You just buy into an existing platform, and that makes life for businesses and for customers much easier. That's a great thing to start with, but you can ask yourself, what does that mean for a retail store, especially for a physical retail store? And before I tell you a PhD about that or give you like a very theoretical approach, I would love to tell you a story. And the story I would like to tell you is the story of John McPheeters. John is a sneaker reseller from New York in the US, and John has founded a company called Stadium Goods in 2015. Sneaker resellers, for the ones of you who don't know, sneaker resellers buy special edition sneakers from consumers and then sell them, hopefully at a higher price, to other consumers. And therefore, the consumers that have bought it then do not have the struggle to camp in front of a sneaker store at night in order to get the special edition sneaker. So we were thinking that's a great idea to start with, and in 2016, we were on a business trip in New York and strolled around Howard Street, where the store of Stadium Goods, the only one physical store that he operates, is actually located. And we went into the store, and what you see there is, for example, the Nike self-lacing boots that you all know from the Back to the Future movie #2, I think it was. So we loved it. I love sneakers, so it was my store. And at some point, we came to know John. And John was just giving us a tour, and he said, "This is my store." He showed us the warehouse, which is in the basement floor. It was all cool, and we were impressed. And then we said, "What are you making with this business?" And John was saying 40. And we said 40 pairs of shoes per week at a price point of around 10,000 euros. That's actually impressive for this one store. And he was, no. It's 40 million a year. And we were like, "But your business is only 8 months old?" And he was like, "Yes, that's the run rate." So we were really impressed, and then kind of we almost became friends and kept the contact, invited him to Berlin to also be at the bread and butter fair of Zalando. Then a year later, in 2017, he sent me this picture via WhatsApp. And this shows John here on the right-hand side, representing the US, so North America, or parts of North America, at the Singles Day of Alibaba, of Tmall, the biggest shopping event on the entire planet. And he was there because he had met Jack Ma. Jack Ma liked the story as we did, so you could say great minds think alike. He actually was there to represent his continent. So that was just a really cool story, we thought. And of course, I texted him back, "Hey, congrats, how much are you making now?" That was around 11 months after we met him in New York for the first time. And he was saying, now it's 120 million turnover with his business. One store within roughly 1.5 years. So that was really impressive, we thought. And then another year later, he sold his business to Farfetch for $250 million. is still managing director and still runs the business. So what can you learn from that story? The story is, it is a physical retail store. It has grown super fast, so within just 2.5, 3 years, to something now around 240 million turnover. And how did he do that? He leveraged the infrastructure of platforms. And that platform, for example, was Tmall, Alibaba's platform for consumers in China. So this is how he grew, and this was his recipe for growth, being a physical retailer. That is awesome, but you may ask, okay, but that is the US, that may be on a global scale. What about Europe? Where do we stand? Let me give you a quick, fast rewind to the Zalando platform. So I'm telling you our story now. So in 2016, we decided to become a platform as well. We were a retailer before, we sold our own goods, and then at some point we realized we cannot cope with the growth if we actually do not have somebody else who's helping us. So we invited all the different brands you can think of, and we onboarded hundreds of brands who were selling directly to Zalando customers. That was great, and we thought that's the solution to all problems we had. It was not, to give you a spoiler. In 2018, we were looking again at where do we stand, and we saw a couple of challenges that prevailed. One challenge is availability. So on the platform, around 120 million size requests are coming in. That means if a customer fell in love with a product and says, I really want that product, but it's not there in my size, they can actually place or press a button, and the button then says, Zalando will notify you if this article is back in stock. But it's 120 million moments where the customer doesn't get what they want to, or don't get what they want to. So availability prevails, even though we've got our own warehouses, and even though we have all the brands selling on the platform. Second thing, and announcement. Second problem is choice, as any retailer has. I hope you can hear that. Is choice, so the breadth of our assortment. So if you walk the streets of Paris, at times you will have the problem that you found an article or saw an article in the street that Zalando doesn't have. And that is a relevant problem. So something that the customer wants, but we cannot offer because we just don't know it. And then speed. So sometimes things just have to be fast. So with this guy here saying, it's raining now, I need a raincoat right now, please deliver it to me. And then we can't, because from a warehouse somewhere on the green field, you just can't make it within the same day. And lastly, big topic, sustainability. So if you're transporting your goods always from a warehouse somewhere in Europe, say in Spain, for example, to a customer in the north of Finland, then that may not be the most efficient way for the planet. Ideally, we would have somebody just around the corner who has the item and then ships it to the customer. So these were the 4 problems we had as a platform, and then Connected Retail was invented. So essentially that came from, we don't solve these problems with the current set of levers we have. And then we looked into a direction which we as an online platform, as an online pure platform, never thought we would look. So into physical retail. So if you look into physical retail, all across Europe, you see that there are 300,000 stores all across, and always kind of super close to the customer. That's the nature of a store. It just wants to be where the customers are. They carry 15 to 16 billion items all the time. So that means there is a lot of availability, actually much more than what is there in the industry in warehouses. So the stores, first of all, seem to be a really, really good partner to solve the problems I was outlining. Availability, choice, speed, and sustainability. And then we thought if we combine those stores with more than 45 million customers of Zalando, then actually we've built something new. Then we've built like a new operating model or a new platform for the physical stores. And that is what we then coined Connected Retail, and hopefully, no, it doesn't say that. So now I have to go back. Normally it says here that we have 3 models that we're operating in Connected Retail. One is already live. It's called Ship from Store. So the order from a Zalando online customer is actually then sent to a physical store. And the physical store picks and packs and sends it to the consumer. And then there are two other models that physical retailers find super interesting. One is click and collect, so online customers coming physically to the stores. This is in the making, and the same for the return. So if a customer doesn't like the article, he or she could actually go to the store and have it replaced, which ultimately also is a good idea. Same for the planet. So that's connected retail. And it's a win-win-win. So normally when somebody tells you something is a win-win-win, there must be something wrong. In this case, it's really because the technology wasn't there. It just simply didn't exist, but it makes so much sense to connect the online customers with the offline supply. For the retailers, that means growth, as in the example of John, but not only from the online orders, it also makes the store better. And better in a sense that the articles that the store has turn much faster. You're selling them much faster so that you're running out of the stock. And then you can renew it. Then you actually can bring new collections. You can bring more risky items that you think you would never sell on the high street. Then your store just becomes more colorful and the customers have more reasons to come back more often. So that's the second effect, an indirect effect of connected retail. So how does that work? Real quick. If you think about a transaction for ship from store, first of all, we work with the stores to integrate their inventory. We need to know what the store has on offer or what they want to sell in order to be able to expose it to our customers. So we integrate with the store, and we have built it in a way that it really works for every kind of store, be it like a really large department store like Galeries Lafayette, or a small 80 square meter shoe store somewhere in the middle of nowhere. It works for everybody. And it just takes a few days, so the whole thing is built really to work. If you don't have an IT department, if you don't have a big IT budget, you just simply send us a CSV file, like an Excel file, that says, this is the EIN I want to sell, this is how many stock I want to put on the platform, and here's the price I want to charge for the item. That's it, and then you're connected. So within a few days, you're connected. Once you are connected, this happens. So the customer is on the platform, sees this Timberland shoe and says, okay, I want to buy it, puts it into his shopping basket as regular, and then actually has done his job. No? So order is placed, and then the order doesn't go to our warehouse, it actually goes to the store. So in this case, this is exactly what the shop assistant sees. It's proprietary software that we've built, and this is what they see, and then they can actually click print pick list. They go to the shop floor, they find the article, as in this case, put it into a box, which can also be labeled with the retailer's name. That's not a problem. So I think it's actually great if the retailer does that. And then the system has printed out all the documents so that essentially the job is done. And then the carrier, La Poste or Colissimo, is coming by. They pick up the items in the evening, then bring it, as in a regular e-commerce transaction, bring it to the customer. And ideally, this happens, the customer loves it, it fits, great, job done. If not, if the customer has questions, then the customer calls our customer care. So essentially, kind of the store doesn't need to take care, they don't need to build up capacity. They're using all the processes that we have in the background in order to really kind of make it as efficient as possible for the customer. That's how it works, and it's not getting any more complicated. So we thought, wow, that's a great model and probably lift off, and we were already on a great path. It was 1.5 years old. We had, I think at that time, 500 stores already connected to the platform, and we just onboarded Nike. So I was actually in January 2020, I was on the NRF conference in the US, one of the biggest in the world, and we were presenting Nike is now using connected retail. Wow. And we were like, okay, now it's going to go through the roof. And then this happened. And that was obviously not cool. I don't know if it was the same in France, but in Germany, suddenly nobody was talking about fashion anymore. Everybody was talking about toilet paper because it was sold out everywhere. And that was not cool. So therefore, this is the moment when we thought, okay, it's going to fall apart. The stores are closed. Nobody's selling anymore. The whole model doesn't work anymore. And then we did this. And this is not it is a hashtag, and it's not a hashtag if you want. So we said stronger together. So this is one of the moments when you really define whether you want a partnership or you just want to do business. So we said we want a partnership with the stores. We really want to make sure we work together And this here really works for a long-term partnership with the physical stores and Zalando. So what we did was we said the biggest problem that they have, the stores, is liquidity. So they're running out of cash. They cannot sell their product. Front door is closed. The state may be a bit late in paying the subsidies. So the stores are at risk. Then we said we take the commission to zero. The store doesn't pay anything to Zalando anymore. And we pay out much faster because liquidity, so if you have profits, great, but if you don't get the money, then it's also kind of not really helpful. So we paid out the money on a weekly rhythm, and that triggered a huge demand in the market. Suddenly the retailers were like, wow, this is it, this is the way out. My front door is closed, but I can still sell via the back door, via the Colissimo guy who's coming by. So stronger together, that translated in pictures like this. So this is a retailer in Germany which was closed at the time, and they packed so many parcels that you don't see any item on the hangers, you see all the items in the boxes. And the postman was not so happy because his car didn't fit all the parcels, but the retailer was super happy because suddenly kind of he had all his people back, they were coming from part-time work during the lockdown, and suddenly they had revenue again. So that was really, really good. And one story I particularly like, by the way, on the left and right, so you see me here and a colleague of mine on the left-hand side. We were very tired because we were driving all night to a store opening of the guy in the middle. His name is Roman Degenhardt. And Roman, on that day, in the middle of June last year, just in the middle of the crisis, opened a store, an additional physical store in the city of Marburg. And the big question was, why does he do that? And he explained it in front of the people who were invited. And he was saying, I did that because of those guys. And we were just like breaking out in tears. But the point was, he opened his store because during the crisis he learned I can actually grow if I do online on top of my physical business. So of course I keep it, and now I see I can do more. So I open another store. The one store wouldn't work without Connected Retail, but it works very well with Connected Retail. And he had the trust to say, well, this will work in the future. So on that day, he also got an award. As you see, he shipped his 100,000th parcel, and he only has like 9 stores, and at that time had 10 people working in his online department. So I think that's a great success story. And then, big question, what is it now? Kind of now after 1.5 years into the pandemic, where do we stand? And it's really cool. So by now it's more than 5,000 stores all across Europe that are leveraging Connected Retail, not only in order to compensate for a crisis or because the store is closed, but they're using it in order to grow. For them, it's part of their business by now. 5,000 stores. And if you line up all the parcels, I cannot give you the exact number, but if you line up all the parcels just behind each other, then the line of parcels goes twice around the entire globe. And that on the equator, not on the North Pole. So that was really cool, I thought. That's the impact it had for the retailers. And if you look at Zalando, it has a considerable amount of the growth that Zalando, for example, last year generated also this year, is coming from Connected Retail. And that means a considerable part of the growth of Zalando is actually generated by physical retail stores. So in January, in Germany, where we have naturally the most stores, because that was the country where we started, there we had almost every 5th parcel was actually shipped from a physical retail store. Every 5th Zalando parcel was shipped from a physical retail store to the customers. I thought that was also mind-boggling to see this size of the business. So by today, we're active in 12 countries. And of course, that's why I'm here as well today, of course, also in France. So since, I think, end of Q1, we're operating Connected Retail with stores in France, specifically also in Paris, but all across the country. And it's a great story. So we're seeing a lot of demand, a lot of retailers coming and saying, kind of, I want to test this as well, I want to try it out. And then actually, once they tried it out, it made a huge difference for them. So then you could say, okay, again, like story closed, can we have a winning model? That's it, let's lean back and be happy. Of course, we don't do that. So first of all, we should also not, and the retailers should also not, because if we look at data, how important is online going to be in the future for customers? We have seen that 75% of customers have trialed online during the pandemic. They were just forced to. There was no other source of supply. But the good news is, I think it's a good news, 60% want to continue to use online. 60% of customers want to continue to use online. And that also translates into a higher share of wallet. So 30% of the customers are saying, I want to spend more than during the pandemic. And during the pandemic, I personally spent everything online because I just simply couldn't go to stores. So that's an impressive number, and I think it's a call out. Don't miss the online opportunity as a physical retailer. It really makes sense. The customer has adopted it, but we have a solution for you as a physical retailer to use online as a growth tool without major investments. So if you say this sounds exciting, so there's more that we're working on. Number one, I mentioned it already earlier, click and collect. So essentially, if you look at the model of ship from store, physical retailers typically say, that's great, kind of I can grow online, I can pack the parcels, nice. But my really core capability as a retailer and as a shop assistant is, I know my customers and I really know how to sell product to them. I want to execute this, but I can't do that online. And therefore, we are enabling click and collect for the model now in the future, so hopefully next year, where we also send Zalando customers physically into the store. The next thing is, you as a physical retailer typically don't have a big logistics network, and we have one. And as with everything else in our platform, we open the doors also to our warehouses. So imagine you don't like the returns, of course. When the product comes back, you need to look at it. Is it okay? Then you need to brush it up. And there's a lot of process around this. You can bear it as a physical retailer, but you maybe don't want to do it. So therefore, you can then decide to send the parcels back so that the customer sends the return back to our warehouse. And once this is done, then we can take care of the whole process of brushing it up again and maybe kind of even sending it the next time for the retailer. And that also gives a lot more profit to the retailer. So we think this is a huge driver for them to increase the profit pool. Another thing that you do if you only operate a few stores, you don't have data and you don't have the capabilities maybe to analyze the data. We have a lot of data and we always analyzed it. So we also open the door there now and say everything that we know, everything that may help the retailer, both for connected retail, but also for their core business to understand what is happening in their catchment area, what is happening with the customers that just live around the corner. We can help them to understand that, not on a customer by customer base, but to understand like what are the customers buying that live in the proximity of my store. This is data which is super valuable for the buying of the stores. And therefore, we are giving this data and advice in the future also to the retailers. And then lastly, big stage as here, retailer homes. So as a retailer, you will also say, hey, I'm famous. I'm Galeries Lafayette. I'm the local hero retailer. I want to be visible. I'm a brand myself. And I don't want to be just like inputting product into the platform. So what we are also doing is now preparing a stage for the retailer to curate outfits, to curate collections, and to showcase their own brand as a retailer, to tell the stories, show videos of their house, and really attract customers, and really then also create followership on the platform so that the customer can say, I like what they are doing. I want to follow them. Next time they do an outfit, I want to know about it. So we will enable that as well. And that, I think, is the sense of the partnership that we're driving here. So open to grow and you. So if you think, sounds like a good story, I want to know more, let me tell you a few more things. So first of all, you may think, okay, this sounds interesting, but is this really for me? And we designed it in a way that really, as I said, everybody can participate. Everybody that has product on stock, which is relevant for Zalando customers. And that is a lot. So that's fashion, that's shoes, that's accessories, that's beauty articles, sports, kids, what have you. So exactly the lifestyle category. So if you have a lifestyle category in your store, then this is for you. And can you do it? Yes, you can do it, because we've designed it in a way that is really simple. So everybody can participate without the knowledge of IT. You just need an ERP system, like your POS system in the store, and that's it. And then we can do it. The second thing is you are always in control. That's a question that many retailers are asking. Can I say what I want to sell? Yes, you can. Can I say I don't want to sell products under 50 euros? Yes, you define that. Can I set the price for the article? For sure you can. Can you say I don't want to sell products from the current season, only from the last season? Yes, you can. So everything that you would decide on your own website, you can also decide on Connected Retail. It's almost like the better version of your own website. And the last thing is cost. So on the one hand side, it is a commission-based model. So we're charging at the moment until end of year a flat 7% as a commission for French retailers. So therefore, that's hopefully a good offer where a lot of French retailers say, wow, I want to test it. This is really cool. 7% may sound a lot, but it means it gives you everything that you normally would need to do yourself. You don't need to take the pictures. We have them already. So like the articles that we're selling are already there. You just give us the EAN, and that's it. And then you may think, okay, but there's setup cost probably, there's fixed cost, and there's tech cost. And there's none of those. So there's no setup cost. We do everything together with you. You don't have to pay anything for trying it out. There's no fixed cost involved, so you don't need to anticipate that there's like a flat amount per transaction. It's not. It's just a variable percentage of the revenues that we charge as commission. There's also no technology cost. So the interface that you've seen, you just get as part of the deal. So you just have it, you don't pay for it. You don't need to invest yourself. And the last thing, if you have more questions, then this is the place for you to find it. So connectedretail.fr is our French website where everything is put together in terms of information. How does it work? Some stories from retailers. And on top of that, of course, a phone number or an email address that you could reach out and just have a chat with somebody of our team to understand, okay, this is how it works for me. Because every single case, of course, is also a bit different. So this is where you find everything. And to close it with John, I really kind of, as you could probably feel, I got really inspired by his story. And we really think the future of retail is connected. It's bringing together online and offline, and it's bringing it together for the good and at a price and in a model where it is affordable for everybody. So hopefully that inspired some of you. I see Emmanuel already waiting here. Thank you so much for listening and having me in Paris.